create. Small talk gets a bad reputation, but the truth is it's the doorway to deeper connection. Most people feel awkward not because they're boring, create, but because they're trying too hard to say the right thing. The real magic happens when you stop performing and start connecting. Today, create. You'll learn how to make small talk fun, natural, and surprisingly easy without forcing anything. When you stop trying to impress people, create. Something shifts inside you. You stop performing and start showing up as a real human being, and that's when conversations feel lighter. Create. Most awkward moments happen because you're scanning yourself instead of the moment, analyzing your tone, your posture, even the way your words sound. Create. That internal pressure builds until the conversation feels like a test you didn't study for. But when you flip the focus outward and ask, create. What's interesting about this person right now? Everything softens. You relax, they relax, and connection replaces self-consciousness. Create. Small talk becomes fun when you treat it as curiosity instead of competition. You're not trying to win the moment or deliver the perfect sentence. Create. You're just exploring someone's world for a few minutes. That curiosity gives you something to lean on so you're not stuck in your own head. Yet, imagine meeting someone and thinking, what's one thing about them I can notice? That single question instantly grounds you. Maybe it's their tone, create, their energy, their style, or the environment you're both in. When you shift your lens to simple observation, create, you create natural openings for conversation without forcing anything. People feel safe around someone who isn't trying too hard. When your goal is to impress, create, you push energy outward in a way that feels performative. Your voice gets tighter, your laughs sound rehearsed, and the silence feels heavier. Create. But when your goal is connection, you slow down and let the moment breathe. You're not racing to say something brilliant. You're letting the interaction unfold. Create. This gives the other person permission to show up authentically too. They don't feel like they're at a job interview or a sales pitch. They feel seen. Create, not judged. Focusing on connection also makes you more present, and presence is what people remember most. When you're present, you catch small cues like the way someone tilts their head when they talk about something important, or how their eyes light up when a certain topic comes up. Create. Those tiny details guide the flow of conversation naturally. Instead of forcing a topic, you follow the person in front of you. Create. Presence also helps you respond instead of react. You're not trying to jump in with a clever line. You're allowing the space to speak to you. Create. That's what makes people feel like they're talking to someone grounded. Create. Another reason shifting from impressing to connecting works is because it removes the fear of being boring. People don't bond over perfect stories or polished lines. Create. They bond over genuine energy. You don't need to entertain someone. You just need to engage with them. Create. A simple, that's interesting. What made you choose that goes further than any rehearsed anecdote. When you're not performing, your natural humor, warmth, create, and personality flow without effort. The conversation becomes a shared experience instead of a spotlight on you. And here's the part most people never realize. Create. When you stop trying to impress, you actually become more impressive. Confidence isn't loud, it's calm. Create. It's the steady energy of someone who doesn't need to prove themselves. Create. That kind of confidence makes small talk feel effortless because you're not chasing validation. You're just being human. Create. And the moment you start operating from that place, awkwardness fades, tension dissolves, and people gravitate toward you without you even trying. Create. Micro openers work because they remove the pressure of coming up with something deep or clever. Create. Most people freeze during small talk because they think they need a perfect line to break the ice, but the truth is The smallest, create. Simplest observations are usually the most effective. When you use a light comment about the environment, the moment, or something you genuinely notice, create. It feels natural instead of rehearsed. There's no build-up, no expectation, no heavy energy. It's just two people acknowledging the same reality for a second. Create. That tiny spark is often all you need to shift from silence to connection. Create. The beauty of micro openers is that they keep your brain in the present instead of pushing you into overthinking mode. Create. When you're trying to craft a perfect opener, your mind jumps ahead, imagines all the ways it could fail, and suddenly you feel awkward before you even speak. Create. But when you use what's right in front of you, someone's coffee choice, a line you're both waiting in, create. The music playing in the background, you don't have to think, you just notice, and noticing is effortless. The calmer your brain is, the smoother your energy becomes, and the easier it is for the other person to meet you there. Another thing micro openers do is make the conversation feel like an invitation instead of a request. Big openers can feel like pressure. So, what do you do? Tell me about yourself. Those questions drop people into performance mode, but a small, casual comment like, "This place always plays the nicest music," or "I think everyone picked the same drink today," is soft. It's gentle. Create. It gives the other person the freedom to join in without feeling like they have to deliver a full answer. You're not asking them to entertain you. You're offering them something easy to step into. Micro openers also show confidence in a very subtle way. Create. When you can make a small, simple observation without hesitation, it signals that you're comfortable in your own skin. You're not trying to be impressive. Create. You're just being present. This kind of low pressure confidence is the kind people relax around. Create. They don't feel like you're trying to impress them or get something from them. They feel like you're someone who's okay with the moment being simple. Create. And ironically, that's what makes the moment more enjoyable for both of you. Create. What makes micro openers powerful is how they shape the flow of conversation afterward. A tiny comment can lead to a shared laugh, which leads to a personal detail. Create, which leads to an easy question, which leads to a deeper exchange without forcing anything. Create. It's like rolling a small snowball that naturally becomes bigger with movement. The first step just needs to be light. When you build conversations this way, create. They grow naturally instead of feeling staged. The interaction becomes something you're both creating together instead of something one person is carrying. Create, and the best part is that micro openers free you from the fear of messing up, because when you keep things small, there's nothing to ruin. A simple comment can land lightly and fade away if it doesn't go anywhere, and that's okay. Not every opener needs to turn into a conversation. Create, and that takes all the pressure off. When you embrace that mindset, small talk becomes playful. You start having fun with observations. Create, letting moments arise without forcing them. And the more relaxed you are, the more naturally people respond to you because your energy tells them, create. This is just a moment, not a performance. Create. Matching someone's energy is one of the fastest ways to dissolve awkwardness because it signals safety without you having to say a single impressive thing. Create. When you match their tone, pace, and level of enthusiasm, you create a sense of familiarity that puts their nervous system at ease. Create. People aren't just listening to your words, they're reading your presence, your rhythm, the space you take up. Create, and the speed you move through the interaction with. When those elements line up with theirs, the conversation feels smoother from the start. You're not imitating them or copying them. You're simply aligning with what they're already giving you. Create. That tiny alignment is what makes the interaction feel respectful instead of rushed, pressured, or out of sync. Create. Most awkward conversations happen because the energies collide instead of connect. Create. Someone might be calm and thoughtful while the other person comes in loud and high energy. Create. Or one person wants to keep things light while the other jumps straight into deep topics. You can feel the mismatch instantly, even if no one says anything about it. To create, when you match energy instead of content, you avoid that clash. You're reading the vibe, not the vocabulary. You're tuning into how they talk. Create, not what they talk about. This creates an undercurrent of mutual understanding, the type of feeling people recognize subconsciously and instantly trust. Create. And when trust rises, awkwardness naturally falls. Matching energy also shifts the conversation from effort to flow. When you try to direct the moment too hard, create, you unintentionally push the interaction off balance. But when you match someone's pace, you're letting them know, I'm here with you. Create, not ahead of you or behind you. This removes the pressure to perform or entertain. Create. Flow happens when both people feel like they're navigating the same emotional temperature. If they're gentle, you soften. If they're excited, you brighten. Create. If they're quiet, you give space. This emotional mirroring isn't manipulation. It's connection through attunement. It shows you're paying attention. Create. And that attention makes the conversation feel like cooperation instead of competition. Create. The beauty of matching energy is that it doesn't require you to change who you are. It just requires you to adjust your starting point. Create. Once the connection is established, your natural personality can unfold comfortably instead of abruptly. Create. Think of it like walking side by side with someone. If you start at their pace, they naturally adjust to yours as the conversation progresses. Create. That shared rhythm makes it easier to transition topics, laugh naturally, or shift to something more meaningful without the interaction feeling forced. Create. When people feel understood on a nonverbal level, they become more open verbally. The more open they feel, the easier the conversation becomes for both of you. Create. And here's where the real fun happens. Matching energy actually gives you more control, not less. When the other person feels comfortable, they relax, and relaxed people engage better. They respond more, share more, and open more doors for the conversation to go somewhere interesting. Create. You're not trying to dominate or steer, you're co-creating a comfortable environment. From that place, you can gently lift the energy, deepen the conversation, create or wrap it up smoothly without any friction. Create. Energy matching isn't about blending in, it's about creating enough harmony that both people can show up authentically. When you do that, create. A small talk stops feeling like a game you can lose and starts feeling like a moment you're simply moving through together. Create. The comment question flow is a simple technique that transforms small talk from a mechanical Q&A into a natural human exchange. Create. Most people default to asking question after question, which unintentionally turns conversation into an interview. You may be genuinely curious. Create. But rapid fire questioning puts pressure on the other person to perform, and it creates awkward pauses when the answers aren't exactly what you expected. Create. Adding a comment before or after your question changes the dynamic entirely. It creates context, shows you're listening. Create. And frames the question as part of a shared observation instead of a test. This small shift makes the interaction feel fluid instead of stiff. 8. Starting with a comment signals that you're present and engaged. When someone shares a detail, create. Responding with a simple acknowledgement or insight before asking a question shows that you're following their energy, not just bouncing from one point to the next. Create. For example, instead of immediately asking, "Where are you from?" you might say, "I love your accent." 8. It's so unique. Where did you grow up? That comment doesn't just soften the question, It gives a personal touch that invites connection. Create. People are drawn to those who notice subtle things about them, and even a brief observation can transform a routine exchange into a memorable one. Create. The comment question flow also helps the conversation feel more balanced. When someone is speaking, the natural instinct is to respond, create, but if your response is only another question, it signals a lack of contribution. Adding a comment shows you're offering your perspective too. Even small opinions, create reactions, or reflections are enough to make the conversation feel reciprocal. The other person senses that you're present and that the interaction is co-created. Create. This balance reduces the tension that often comes from one-sided exchanges, and it keeps both people invested without effort or pressure. Create. This technique subtly encourages storytelling. When a comment is paired with a question, create, it creates a bridge that invites the other person to expand on their answer naturally. They don't feel interrogated. Create. They feel prompted to share something they care about. For instance, saying, create, that's a fascinating job. What do you enjoy most about it? Is more engaging than simply asking, create, what do you do? The comment primes the mind to respond thoughtfully rather than mechanically, and it sparks richer conversation. Create. Once people start sharing in depth, awkward pauses vanish because the dialogue is moving from genuine curiosity instead of routine questioning. Create. Another benefit of the comment question flow is that it conveys emotional intelligence. It shows that you're not just listening for words, but for context, tone, create, and nuance. Comments demonstrate that you notice more than the surface level. They show that you understand subtleties like enthusiasm, hesitation, or humor. Yet, that level of awareness makes others feel recognized, which is the foundation of connection. Create. The question that follows then becomes a natural continuation of the moment rather than abrupt leap, and that rhythm keeps the conversation flowing naturally. Create. Finally, using this approach reduces your own anxiety while speaking. When you focus on making an observation or giving a comment before asking, create, you have a moment to process the interaction, which keeps your energy calm and grounded. You're not scrambling to find a question or worrying about silence. Create. The flow of comment question gives you structure, but it's flexible and human. It allows small talk to feel effortless, engaging, and enjoyable. Create, because the exchange is no longer about performing, it's about participating. And when you participate fully, awkwardness becomes nearly impossible. Yet, leaving space for authentic connection to thrive, knowing how to land a conversation smoothly is just as important as starting it. Yet, many people focus so much on the opener that they forget the ending, and awkward exits can erase all the positive energy built up in a conversation. Create. A graceful ending doesn't have to be elaborate or overthought. It's about signaling respect, confidence, and ease. When you leave a conversation on a high note, create. People remember the interaction positively, and it leaves the door open for future connection. Awkward goodbyes, on the other hand, create tension and make small talk feel risky in the future. Learning how to close naturally is part of mastering the rhythm of connection. Create. One of the first principles of a smooth exit is timing. You don't want to overstay your welcome, but you also don't want to cut off the interaction abruptly. Create. Paying attention to conversational cues helps you sense when it's a good moment to wrap up. Maybe the other person has paused for a beat, yet, or the topic has naturally reached a conclusion. Recognizing these moments allows you to transition without creating discomfort. Create. A well-timed exit feels effortless because it aligns with the natural flow of the conversation rather than fighting against it. Yet. Another key element is using a short, positive statement to close. You don't need to summarize everything discussed or provide an explanation for leaving. Create a simple, genuine line like, was great talking with you, or I enjoyed hearing about that, leaves a positive impression and communicates appreciation. Create. Pairing that with body language, a smile, relaxed posture, or a slight nod reinforces sincerity. Create. People remember both the words and the energy you carry when departing. That combination makes the conversation feel complete. Create. Leaving warmth instead of awkwardness behind. Offering a next step when appropriate can also make exits smoother. Create. This doesn't mean committing to something major. It could be as simple